They are candidates for the office of President of the United States, and they are on the Simon Conway Show, helping you find somebody to love for 2012.
Indeed, we're going to try and continue to find somebody for you to love. And then when we get to the straw poll, don't forget this special edition of this show live from the straw poll in Ames on Saturday, August the 13th. And joining me right now is Senator Rick Santorum. Senator, welcome back to the show.
I'll just take a like. I mean, for now. I mean, love is great, but I'm just sort of let's get to know each other a little bit.
Okay, well, that's fair enough.
All right.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking for love. I'm that kind of guy.
You sort of build up to these things. I mean, or make it. Sometimes, are you a love at first sight kind of guy?
Oh, definitely not.
Okay,
no.
There you are.
Definitely not. But you just told me something that makes me feel very kindly about you, sir.
I quote you.
You quoted me. I mean, that's amazing.
As I travel around, not just in Iowa, I might add. I quote you in North New Hampshire and South Carolina, where I also spend a little bit of time.
Excellent. Well, I want to get straight into it today because we've only got about half an hour today. So I want to talk about the debt ceiling. Yeah. Is it time for this nation to simply draw a line in the sand, even if that means we default? From my perspective, is it time to stop the insanity?
My feeling is that we should, and I've said this from the very beginning when I came out and supported, even before I supported the cut, cap, and balance approach, that the key to this is to focus, and I've said this when I was in Washington, I said one of the most important things you can do when you're in Washington is to talk about the principles you want to accomplish anytime you get into a major debate. Mm-hmm. And the principles I want to accomplish in this, and I think that every conservative wants to see accomplished, are two things. Number one, eventually we want the budget to be balanced.
Yep. And
secondly, we want to keep limited government in America.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do we accomplish that? Do we accomplish it with a bill that cuts $100 billion or $200 billion? The answer is no.
Nope.
No, we don't. Do we accomplish it with a program that says 10 years down the road or 6 years or 5 years down the road, we're going to cut so much or we're going to cap this? The answer is, do we accomplish that? The answer is no. Mm-hmm. There's one way to accomplish it. And in my opinion, we need to hold out for that one way, and that's a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. And here's why I think it's possible. People say, oh, yeah, that'll never pass. Well, first off, when I came into the United States Senate in 1995, we came within one vote of it passing.
Yep.
And one vote of it passing. And we had a bunch of Democrats who voted for it. Mm-hmm. And so it's not something Democrats have not voted for or won't vote for. Mm-hmm. They have and they will. It just has to be a reasonable approach. And I think what's reasonable is to go and say, look, President Obama, you want to get your this debt ceiling raised past your election? Fine. Let's come out, walk hand in hand, and say, let's focus on passing a balanced budget amendment. You pass a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution that limits spending to 18% of GDP. You've now guaranteed a balanced budget, and you've guaranteed limited government, which means you've guaranteed freedom for the American people. You do that, then you know what? We don't need to make any big cuts right now, Mr. President. If you don't want to make big cuts right now, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Let's get this balanced budget amendment passed, and that'll give us 7 years, and every credit market in America, every stock market in America, every business person in America will go bananas because they know that the Constitution will require us to do what we have to do, what otherwise we would not have the will to do.
So has John Boehner got it wrong?
I do believe, unfortunately, I like John a lot, but I think he's playing small ball, and and it's confusing. The public doesn't know what he's for. They don't know what Republicans are for. We need to be clean. We need to talk about what the principled approach. What do we want? What does America want? America wants a balanced budget. It wants us to live within our means, and it wants limited government. There's only one way to get there. We need to be principled. We need to be clear, and we need to be consistent.
And if the president won't sign on, we need to communicate.
We need to communicate to the American public. The president does not want, and we're not talking about this. We have some candidates out there, unfortunately, for president who are saying, I'm never going to vote for a debt ceiling increase unless I get everything I want. You're not going to get everything you want. Nobody gets everything you want. I mean, you can't get the NFL players. We're not going to get everything they want. The NFL owners, we're not going to. Nobody in a negotiation gets everything they want. And if you have a leader that says, you give me everything I want or I won't vote for it, that's not a leader. You need a leader who's saying, let's get to the core. What do I need to get this done? And what do they need? What the president wants is he doesn't want to cut anything right now. That's what the bottom line is.
Absolutely.
He doesn't want to cut anything.
I know. He
All
won't,
right.
he won't tell
So
anybody what his plan is.
So here's my plan. Give him what he wants and get what we want.
Well, it's certainly an interesting approach. It's a different approach, one we haven't heard before. Certainly, when people are talking about, this huge deal, $4 trillion over 10 years, it's nothing. It's
nothing.
Irrelevance.
That's what the
Absolute
beauty of the
irrelevance.
balanced budget amendment is. People don't recognize how big of a deal it is, how much change, the scale of change that it would cause. And it's and as a result, it's easier to sell.
Okay. We're talking to GOP presidential candidate Senator Rick Santorum in live and exclusive in studio. Senator Santorum, let me ask you where you stand on the Second Amendment. Because I hosted a Second Amendment rally over the weekend. We'd have loved to have seen you out there, but we didn't.
I was actually packing up my family and traveling to Iowa.
So
we got all 7 kids and Karen are now here in Iowa, and we're going to be here for 3 weeks leading up to the straw poll.
That's great.
So
let me ask you where you stand on it.
I am the staunchest supporter of the Second Amendment that you'll find in the United States Senate. I was a leader, not just on voting and authoring bills, but for making sure those bills came to the floor of the Senate and got votes. And I am a NRA member, we're a gun owner, and someone who not only appreciates the shooting sports, but believes in that the Second Amendment is an individual right to bear arms, as the Supreme Court has said, and the right to bear arms is important for the security of our country and for individuals and families.
Okay, that was very clear as well. What do we need to do? What do you need to do at the straw poll to convince you to stay in the race?
That's a good question. I mean, we're running, as you know, I think there's 9 people in the field right now, and we're running obviously toward the bottom of that field. And we've run a campaign, which we're not on TV, we're not on radio, we're not spending a lot of money. But I've been to 40 at least 40 counties. I think I hit my 40th in Harrison County today out west, and I've done 80 plus events. I've got 44 more in the next 2 weeks that I'm doing, and so our feeling is that we need to finish in the in the top 5. We need to. I think that exceeds expectations for everybody. I mean, we're people don't think we're going to do well. I think we'll do very well, and I think a top 5 finish for us is something that's possible. And obviously, the higher up in that top 5, the better off we are.
Okay, and if it's outside of the top 5,
would
that be it?
I think it would send a serious signal to me that maybe we just don't have the kind of support on the grassroots level that we need. But I'm feeling very confident that we've got a lot of folks who are going to be coming to Ames and helping us out that we've met along the trail. And one of the things that's encouraging to me is when I get in front of a group, I was in one in Fort Dodge just the other day, and a group of people had just been to see another candidate the week before, and 4 of those folks showed up at my town hall meeting, and all 4 came and signed up for straw poll tickets to come to the straw poll for me. And so I think when I get a chance to get in front of folks and people can compare the candidates, we do very, very well.
Flex.
You can't lose what you ain't got. You can't spend something that you ain't never had.
Simon Conway Show, a little bit of muddy waters there. We can't spend money we don't have, Senator. Hang on a second, Senator. Hang on. Let's get that microphone on. Thank you very much. There we go. You're on
okay.
now.
I didn't do anything.
No. That was Andrew. I'll slap him around the head later.
Please
Don't
do
worry
that for
about
me.
that.
Thank you very much.
So, yes, we can't spend money we don't have.
We can. In fact, we do spend
I
money
know,
we don't have.
that's the problem, right?
Yes, that is the problem, and that's why we need a balanced budget amendment.
It really is the problem. I mean, I liken this to somebody earning, like $100,000 a year, and they're spending $125,000. They've maxed out all their credit cards, and the husband runs in and says, "Honey, I've got the solution. We're going to get another credit card to take care of all this problem," because that's exactly what they're telling us in D.C. right now.
Yeah, and look, I appreciate the effort that the Speaker of the House is doing and trying to get something together and pass some spending cuts. And he's, as I said, I think he's playing small ball. I'm not saying he's doing the wrong thing. I just don't think he's doing what's necessary. The good thing about what John Boehner's doing is he's keeping the issue alive between now and the election. And so in that respect, I give him credit that he's not doing some sort of long-term fix that we can come back, and hopefully I'll have the opportunity and others will have the opportunity to talk to the House members and Senate members and say, look, when the next crisis hits, which will be a few months from now after if the Boehner bill goes through, Let's be clear. Let's be unified. Let's focus in on what's important, the principles that are necessary. Balance the budget, limit government.
Okay, I'm going to take some calls in a moment. I just want to read you something off my text line at 989-1040. We don't need an amendment. Why is everybody ignoring the 10th Amendment?
Well, in what respect? I mean,
I'm just reading you what it says.
Well, the 10th Amendment, gives power to all power that's not enumerated to the federal government is left to the states and to the people. And
I think the main point is that the federal government shouldn't be doing anything like what they're doing.
Well, I would agree with that. I mean, I've said that one of the ways you can solve the problem, and Paul Ryan's done this in his budget, and I proposed it before that, which is, you have Medicaid, you have food stamps, you have housing programs, education programs, none of which really need to be done by the federal government. I mean, this is something that the states should be doing, and what we should be doing is what we did with welfare, which is end the federal entitlement, block grant the program back to the states, give them the flexibility to deal with this, and then gradually phase out what the federal government commitment is over time. That's what we did with welfare. We did put some strings attached. We said that we had to require work and we had to have time limits on welfare. Those were the principles we stuck by, and guess what? I led that charge, and we ended a federal entitlement.
All right, let's take some calls. Rich in Des Moines, you're on the Simon Conway Show, and you've got a direct line to Senator Santorum.
Thank you very kindly for taking the call, Simon, and congratulations and good luck, Rick.
Thank you very much.
You bet. I see where it says cutting the spending, capping the spending, and somewhat I see eventually balancing the budget. But I don't see cutting the fat, trimming the fat. And I guess, I don't understand why you guys on either side don't get that.
Yeah, I just signed the pledge today, the Strong America Now pledge that talks about implementing a program called Lean Six Sigma into the federal government to do just exactly what you said, Rich, which is to go after the fat. But and I said at the press conference, I am for going in and doing looking at the programs that the federal government should be doing and making them more efficient and cutting the fat. But there's a lot of programs the federal government should not be doing. These are not things that the federal government has a role in and that can be done better, closer to the people. And whether it's education or whether it's food stamps or whether it's Medicaid, having the states have the flexibility to design the program that fits best for Iowa is better for people in Iowa and better for people in Louisiana or New York or everywhere else than having a federal program and people micromanage it from Washington.
Okay, this is the show where you get to ask direct questions to presidential candidates. We're very proud of that, and let's get another one on the air right now. Grant, you're on the Simon Conway Show with Rick Santorum.
Hey, Mr. Santorum.
Hi, Grant.
Hey, I'm an over-the-road truck driver and have been, except for my stint in the first Gulf War. I've been out here in February, it'll be 25 years. The thing that I care more about than anything else is having a good job and being able to feed my family. How do you feel about the fact that Barack Obama finally got the thing passed through that the Bush administration tried to for 8 years to make it where Mexican domiciled trucks can come up here and steal freight from us?
Okay, Grant, let's listen to the
senator.
Yeah,
that's an interesting question, and I frankly was at the time during the Bush administration very concerned about obviously the whole safety issue, and that remains a concern for me. I'm not convinced that the Obama administration has satisfied my concerns as to whether Mexican trucks, running in this country, are gonna create a hazard on our roads. And obviously, look, I'm not against competition. I think competition is a fine thing, but it has to be fair competition. They have to live by the same rules and regulations that we do, and I think that's something that's lacking in this case.
Hopefully you got your answer there, Grant. Let me go to Dennis in Cherokee. Hi, Dennis.
Yeah, I got a question. We've got this major deficit. How much is that costing us in interest a year?
Okay.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I can give you the number off the top of my head.
I don't have it either in front of me, but it is horrific. I can tell you that 42 cents in every dollar that
is borrowed. is
It
borrowed.
is borrowed.
But I don't know what
way too much.
I used to know the interest carrying cost, but it's probably, given the dramatic change in our debt structure in the last couple of years, I have not kept up with it. But you've now reminded me to get that number, and the next time I'm here, I will have that number.
Yep, that's fair enough. Thanks, Dennis. Let's go to Jill in Knoxville. Hi, Jill.
Oh, hi. How are you?
Doing great, Jill. Thank you.
Hi, Senator Santorum. It is a pleasure to speak with you.
Nice to have you.
I would just like to say that you were mentioning that you guys ended welfare. I work in a field where there's a lot of people on welfare. It is not ended. In fact, I heard a woman say the other day, the way I look at it, she said, every time I have another kid, she said, that's another 5 years I can stay on welfare and don't have to work.
Yeah. Well, again, what we did back in 1996, and I was the author of it, we put time limits on welfare and we put work requirements. Now, states have flexibility. One of the things that we did, we ended the federal entitlement. We gave the program back to the states, and we gave the states the flexibility over time to design their own programs. And so you can't. It's one of those things where you say, well, you didn't make the states do all these things. Well, that's what giving power back to the states do. States can change the law, and in fact, many states have softened the law, and you have situations where we are today.
And some, like Florida, have hardened the law, just making drug testing
right. Wisconsin has so it varies from state to state, and that's what you get.
Simon Conway's show. We are live in studio with GOP presidential candidate Rick Santorum. Welcome back, Senator.
Thank you, Simon. Good to be back.
We've got about 2 minutes, so I'm going to run through some of these questions very quickly if I can't get them on. This is, I guess, a yes or no. Will you cut all foreign aid to help our deficit debt?
No.
Okay, that was easy enough. It kind of buys us stuff, doesn't it, foreign aid?
Well, yeah, foreign aid is necessary to avert a lot of military and other actions that are a lot more expensive. So, I think some foreign aid obviously is wasteful, but foreign aid to Israel, foreign aid to some of our allies who are important to us for a lot of things is not a bad thing to do. Or humanitarian aid in the case of famine and something like that is foreign aid too. And we have to participate in helping those who are having huge tragedies and cataclysmic events in the world.
Okay, ethanol. Do we lose the tax break?
Yes, I've proposed phasing it out over 5 years.
Okay, and what about big oil at the same time?
Same thing. No, I'm for eliminating all subsidies to all energy. Period.
Level playing field.
Level playing field. Let the marketplace work.
Absolutely right. Changes in agriculture. Well, you've got assorted people campaigning for changing the way, for example, right here, right now, that we raise chickens.
Well, again, let the marketplace work. I mean, I know we've had ag policy that's been orchestrated by the government. I think that's a mistake. One of the things I talked about, we have a CRP program that has 36 million acres in conservation reserve. Most of those acreage are not sensitive environmental lands, and we need to get those out of those programs and into production so we can produce more food and people can produce more economic activity in places like Iowa.
Okay, I got about 20 seconds, so I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to come in and see us again. I know you're here for 3 weeks. Maybe we'll get you back one last time before the straw poll.
Anytime you call, what do they say? Just whistle.
Well, maybe I might have to get Danny to do that. I don't whistle that